Good evening. It is March 23rd, 2022. Welcome back to BoomerRexTonight, your nearly daily source for news and politics. Asshole, what separates us from other millennial news podcasts?
We don't have to have the crust on our sandwich cut off? I don't know if they do. I've always thought that was so weird, the people that don't do crust. That's among my favorite parts.
You want to try one more? No.
Nah, they already did the amazing
Can I tell a story?
goose.
Let's finish this.
All right, we'll come back to crust.
We have a boomer, and not just any boomer, Mr. Boomer Rex himself. You two eat, sleep, and breathe politics, and I'm learning. That's 3 unique perspectives we share with the facts from our literal round table. Are we digging into our headlines, or you said you had a story?
Yeah, I've got a
crust?
story. Yeah, so
What was
my
it?
Crust.
my grandfather came home one day, and he found my grandmother preparing for, I think it was a bridge club. And so she was making little cucumber sandwiches and cutting the crust off the bread and so forth. And so my grandfather didn't say a word. He waited until she and all the bridge club had started, and there was the little pile of crustless sandwiches and so forth. And he made a bunch of sandwiches with crust and a great slab of smoked ham. And he brought that plate out and set it down next to hers. And when the bridge club was over, all the ham sandwiches were gone. And only about half of the cucumber sandwiches. Actually, I think a ham sandwich with a cucumber sandwich on the side might be good.
Right?
Yeah, no, that
So,
actually does
anyway.
sound kind of yummy. You could make a sandwich with
Yeah,
the ham and
right?
the cucumber. That'd be good.
I'm more down on a BLT, but
All right, so what's going on with Simba? Who is Simba? Why do we care
Simba
what's
was
happening
kind of
with
the
Simba?
star of the zoo in the Ukraine, right?
Mhm.
I'm sorry, in Ukraine. It's not the Ukraine. And so big old male lion with a great back, mane and so forth. He has been evacuated from Ukraine.
no.
And
Yay.
he's now sitting in a safe place in his shade with his little paws curled under him. But they didn't have any tranquilizers. So he spent like 17 hours in a cage being driven down the road. So
He was probably
Anyway.
very unhappy.
I was going to say, I expect he was not the happiest lion you've ever seen when he got where he was going.
Except you're going to be sad about it at the third act. Or we could have just taken Russian uniforms, crammed a bunch of food in them, and let him go. Like, again, eventually he'll run out of Russians to eat, and then we'll have to shoot him in the eye. But
No, you just
trank him.
and put him back in the cage.
And just make sure that nobody wearing Russian soldier uniforms goes anywhere near him.
Well, the whole idea of having him eat Russians leads right into the next one, which
like
is
helping.
it turns out that the largest meat-eating dino
Mhm.
swam. It was semi-aquatic.
Ah.
It has heavy bones.
Nice.
It hunted underwater. And so Risen was saying, bad enough, right? You got sharks today. But
Yeah.
you got to imagine this 30-foot thing, 10 feet of which is mouth full of teeth,
Can I
that's
just
swimming around under the water
I
looking for something to eat.
Can I just say, if you have not watched Jurassic Park 3, The Lost World,
Okay.
you need to watch that movie because that's exactly what happens. And it is absolutely more terrifying than the T-Rex scene in the original.
Yep.
This is ridiculous.
Back to your maybe worse than sharks thing. Did you see the thing about sharks?
That they buddy up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not one shark.
Yeah.
Like that's the worst. I had always just assumed,
That
right?
they were loners, and
Yeah.
turns out they're not.
No, sometimes they have best BFFs.
Yeah.
All right, so tell us about Russia destroys Chernobyl radiation monitoring lab. This sounds bad.
What the fuck, Russia?
Why? What purpose can
Well,
this-
historically, when they did things like break toilets and all, it's because they didn't understand what they were, and their troops were drinking out of them. Then they killed the whole German village.
Anyway, no, this again gives you a sense of what quality of troop has been sent by the Russians, right? Is that they looted and destroyed this lab, which was used to monitor radioactive waste. It's not on the, it's not right next door to Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Right.
Although I will point out that is largely who I'm more afraid of right now.
Yep. Anyway, the problem is that without the labs, there's some chance the exclusion zone could be compromised, and we wouldn't know it immediately. But it was part of a European-funded attempt to improve radioactive waste management through the on-site analysis of waste samples as well as packaging and so forth.
Better than shipping them off.
Right. Anyway, so apparently a bunch of the samples were also removed by the Russian soldiers.
Dum-dums.
So
enjoy ultra cancer.
Yeah.
Hope you get superpowers, not,
No, how much do you bet they're like, oh, this is going to be a great, like, memory or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
No, they
These
can
were
eBay
prizes
it, but yeah.
that's in their pocket or their backpack now, and they are all going to get radiation sickness in the bad way.
They had a...
What do you mean I should leave it in the lead-lined container?
They had a case in Brazil where a dental x-ray, a radionuclide x-ray source, managed to get to the dump without having the radio source removed. And it was broken into, and the kids found the remains, and they were fascinated by the fact that it glowed in the dark. And so they painted their faces with the source material. And they all died.
Adam carried it all the way down.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, tell your kids about, things that glow in the
Ionizing
dark
radiation.
being not good.
You should probably leave alone
Leave it
until
alone,
somebody has said
Unless
it's
it's one
okay.
of those little glow sticks or a glow necklace, don't fucking touch it if it glows.
Or
if
the
it's
remains
rock
of a
that
firefly.
glows, that's probably not good.
Yeah, and you shouldn't eat fireflies to make yourself glow in the dark.
No. All right,
That's
so
fireflies, if nothing else.
tell me about how Arizona fucks itself with dumb new voting bill.
No,
Yeah, so Arizona State Senate Committee has voted to end all early voting. All mail-in voting the ballots must be cast on a single day, in person, and counted within 24
That's fine.
hours.
Arizona's one of those high tax, high service states, right? So they could easily hire more people to do the counting.
But don't
Yeah,
they
I
also
just-
have to be counted by hand?
Yes, by
specifically?
hand.
Hey, look,
It's completely ridiculous, and there's no chance of it becoming law. But this is where the fascist party is trying to take you. They don't want you to vote. And
they
in
need
particular,
you to not trust a system they are no longer competitive in.
Yep. Requiring people to show up to vote directly harms working class people who can't take time off from work, can't get paid, people who don't have reliable transportation, who don't have daycare. It's just on.
That's true, because
on
when it's
and
early
on.
voting, you could make it talk to your boss, maybe get to come in late, something, leave early.
Yeah.
If you could make it up,
No,
but if
and
it's all on the same day,
It really depends on where you work, because some of these bigger companies will try to account for, okay, we're going to do shifts and blocks so that everybody has a
companies
chance.
that are afraid of someone might take it to Twitter, but
Yeah.
mom and pop shops, all those things that are supposed to be small
Restaurants
business and good
such,
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
locally owned
I mean, this is on its
restaurants,
face stupid. And at its core, right, they're trying
To
to
disenfranchise
exclude certain voters. So anyway, again, standard fascist party bullshit.
Yeah. Well, but you have to, the problem is you have to destroy the system in place, but leave enough for you to take up residence in its remains.
Yeah.
Right? Because otherwise, then, if you're going to do just naked authoritarianism, that's a much harder sell.
Yeah.
Right? If you're just a harder version of the democracy they remember and grew up in.
Yeah. If you can suppress enough voters,
Yeah.
right, that your team wins, because that's what happened last time, right? Is the other team won. They had more voters, and that's what democracy is supposed to be about. We beat the orange fool's ass.
Even though he got
Actually
8 million
stomped
more
him.
votes.
What?
I said, even though he got 8 million more votes, we didn't stomp nobody. It was determined by 46,000 votes.
All right, peace. But
That's why this
we
is
had
bad
7.5 million more votes.
in regions that we were already winning.
Agreed.
Again, no, we did a good job turnout and all the rest.
Yeah.
No, the problem is that it's the multi-pronged assault on voting from the disenfranchisement we were just discussing, and the interest in taking what had been, and they're not political positions, but I guess they are, right? The people who are overseeing the counting is fairly nonpartisan.
Yep.
Or at least structured around some fair play, and they are putting in people that is not their driving focus. Right? People who genuinely believe Democrats cannot legitimately win because it meant there was a cabal of anti-American whatevers and more of them voted for. That's exactly the definition of democracy.
Yep.
Now, I'm sorry that, right? I'm not though. I'm not sorry their party's losing support.
So anyway, just wonderful.
All right, so tell me about Supreme Court shadow docket
Yeah.
throws out Wisconsin electoral map. What the fuck?
So, first of all, the whole idea of handling this on the shadow docket is wrong. This should have come to the full court. It should have been argued, et cetera, et
Yeah,
cetera.
but then they'd have made arguments about we shouldn't change rules near an election.
Right. But they threw out a Wisconsin State Supreme Court ruling that adopted the Democratic Wisconsin governor's Tony Evers electoral map. So, again,
Why do I feel like this is government interfering where it's a state thing?
this is an illegitimate Supreme Court putting its thumb on the scales in favor of the fascist party.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did. It's exactly who they are. It's exactly why we put them there.
No, and these assholes are trying to fight for state rights while they are trying to stomp on
They
state
have no
rights.
interest.
They were trying to fight for states' rights so that they could make interracial marriage illegal again.
Making America monochromatic again.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, like how
Oh,
far
you
back
know
in
they'll come
time
up
do
with
we
a
have to go
pseudoscience.
before people start saying, huh, what the
Oh,
fuck
they're
is
gonna bust
happening?
out their racist color wheels again.
Understand that a significant fraction of what we would call Republican voters favor this.
Yeah.
No, I know.
They are
and
the
it's
scum of the earth,
disgusting.
and they favor this. So
Well,
wake
by
up,
favoring
Democrats.
this, they announce themselves as the scum of the earth.
I'm sorry.
I said by favoring this, that's what makes them the scum of the earth.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no, if you're in favor of this, there's something wrong with you. Like, seriously.
You were on a
Tell me who touched you in your no-no square, the internet. Seriously.
Yes,
It's
God.
not okay. You need some help, apparently.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on because again, this is one of those situations we could talk about how fucking ridiculous it is all goddamn night. Senior official in Russia has stepped down. Who is this and
Yeah,
why?
so Anatoly Chubais has stepped down from his role as international envoy for Vladimir Putin. He's the most senior official to resign since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. He had the job of coordinating Russia's, now you have to laugh, sustainable development goals internationally. So after the war began, he posted a picture of a murdered opposition figure in what was seen as a critical gesture. There's no comment to accompany his Facebook photo of Boris Nemtsov on the anniversary of his killing. He also made no comment yet on his resignation. Who the fuck cares? Let's understand who this jackass is, right? This was Boris Yeltsin's right-hand man when they disposed of 80% of the state industries in Russia at prices that were literally pennies on the dollar, not even nickels, pennies on the dollar.
Or whatever Russia uses instead of pennies, but yeah.
Yeah.
Something's on a ruble.
And the whole idea was to sell it to the oligarchs so that they would continue to support Boris Yeltsin.
Yep.
This man is literally the scum of the earth. He's responsible for stealing trillions of dollars from the Russian people.
Yep.
Right? So the fact that I can tell you exactly what happened. This guy looks around and he goes, Russia ain't got no money and ain't going to have any soon. So I have to make myself palatable to the Western folks who do have money and might dump a little in my pockets.
Time to launder my reputation.
He's trying to launder his reputation. He even got fired for it. The criticisms got so loud that Yeltsin fired him and said, he sold off big industry for next to nothing, and we can't forgive this.
You could rectify it. The state has a monopoly on violence.
Yes, but if they had rectified it, Yeltsin wouldn't have been reelected, which was the whole point behind doing this, was to get him reelected.
Uh-huh. And that's when, at night...
Yes, peace.
Yeah.
Anyway, just love it.
No, this is the
But the
tragedy
whole
of
idea
Russia.
that people are he was being identified as a reformer.
Oh yeah. Look at
in
all the
some of
shitheads who ended up
stories. And you go,
quote
what are you
resistance.
talking about?
Remember when they were trying to make Melania part of the resistance because she didn't hold his hand that one
Oh
time?
God,
I wouldn't either. You ever held a kid's
it's
hand?
ridiculous.
You're all tiny and hot in your hand, and it's just fucking horrible and sticky. And
Yeah.
and you know, fucking Trump's hands are tiny, hot, and invariably sticky.
Right. So no, I
No.
understand why she wouldn't want to be in the
used
same
to
room with him.
regularly clean my son's hands,
Yeah.
and he would always hold mine because if it was sticky, he was washing them.
Oh
No,
my God.
this is the tragedy of Russia. Like, because I remember, right, Russians back when they were Soviets, and then this transition, and maybe things could be better, right? Maybe, right, if we didn't, and now we fucked them all up. We got rid of Yeltsin, 9 other things, because we were going to win the Cold War.
Yeah.
And that seems to have worked great, guys, for 30 years,
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
20 years, really.
it allowed some Western bankers to participate
yeah.
in the theft of everything the Russian people owned. So, hey,
Yep.
Hootie Boy did a good job for us.
All right. I need some good news. Tell me about Boomer Rex's About Damn Time. I need this.
All
in
right.
my
So,
life.
if you will recall, Arizona had a fraud that went on literally
Oh, yes.
forever.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
And at the end of that, the cyber ninjas were asked to turn over the records that were created in that fraud.
These are some ninjas that are very bad at vanishing.
Oh, God, yes.
Ninja vanish.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So they refused to turn it over, and the court said, fine, $50,000 a day.
Yeah.
Well, the fine's over $2 million now, and the CEO has still not complied. That's fine.
But
So now
then-
they're going to take the company into bankruptcy. Okay, that's cool too, because today the court allowed the plaintiffs to add Logan and his wife Megan as defendants.
What?
Yep.
So, yeah,
And they were the ones that were running this whole
Yeah.
Yeah.
dum-dum
Yeah.
scheme.
But they're not allowed to do what you do with a corporation of have it do whatever sociopathic thing you want.
and then let
Hide.
it walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then to run into bankruptcy, collect a bunch of pay for like managing the bankruptcy.
What Johnson and Johnson, a fuck your family company?
Oh yeah. Oh, what Bain Capital has done, basically what America's done since the 80s.
Don't
And
buy
probably
Johnson
before
and
then,
Johnson products, people. I'm just saying. They don't
Maybe-
care about you.
but maybe we just all stop buying stuff for 1 month.
Yeah.
And I want to see how this Russia thing goes, because this I think we could turn into something good.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me about dumbass of the day.
Oh my God, this one is just idiotic.
Oh, tell me.
So this comes under the heading of, what the fuck did you think was going to happen?
Right.
Right?
Teslas.
So, speaking to students and staff at Moscow State Institute of International Relations, the Russian foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, said, no one could have predicted the severity of Western sanctions against Russia in the wake of its invasion of Ukraine.
That's a weird way to pronounce I couldn't.
Yeah, no shit. So anyway, he goes on to point out that, we had
Dang.
improperly seized their $630 billion.
I hope we did.
And he's characterizing it as thievery and fucking.
Bitch,
Right,
welcome
and
to the
fuck
Cold
Russia.
War.
Again, I absolutely believe we should set that aside to pay reparations to Ukraine when this is over.
I think if you live in a place and you can see a Russian's oligarch seize ship, they burn. Right? It's like the people who were throwing eggs when they were taking that bridge down to get Bezos's yacht.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, well, throw eggs. Like, no, throw Molotov cocktails.
Okay.
Yachts burn.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but then you look at this and you go, either this is an outright lie, which is entirely possible,
Right.
or it's an example of the kind of advice little Pootie Boy has been getting
Yeah.
while he was thinking about invading Ukraine.
Well, or a deadly accurate read. Remember, when they stole something that, to make it equivalent to us, when they stole Texas,
Yeah.
what happened? No, we put sanctions on about 12 guys, kicked some kids out. We didn't do anything. Right? We didn't change the state of play.
Yeah, well, that's
They
true.
thought this would go along. They thought we would go along and get along and keep selling them blue jeans, and they could play the China game.
Yeah.
No, I would
Didn't
seriously.
turn out that way. Way to go, Joe Biden,
Yep.
for
Absolutely.
reinforcing NATO.
Yep.
And now people are beginning to understand you can't do business with the fucking Russians while Pootie Boy is in
how about
charge.
this? No, we'll do the. It was always a snake or a scorpion or whatever that idiot parable they were always using
Yep.
about minorities, only
Yep.
Russians and
Yeah.
the Chinese. If we're lucky, we should absolutely push the Chinese into a Cold War.
Whoa,
I mean, or a
okay.
hot one, but
Yeah. Well. All right. So let's
I'm
move
bored
on.
and hate Gen Z.
The smash and grabs in California continue. Now we've been covering this. We talked about this several
Yeah.
months
These on
ago.
the retail buildings.
Yeah, this was, they had a jewelry store.
Oh,
And so they took sledgehammer to break the front windows, which probably had the plastic and all that stuff on it, and got away with $3 to $5 million worth of merchandise. Again, that's what the owner is saying. So
Yeah.
take it with a grain
who
of
I
salt.
assume was on scene first, and
Yeah.
Didn't it happen during the day while everybody was in there?
Absolutely, they're wearing hoodies and masks.
yeah,
Happened
but
in broad daylight. In fact, some people even got a video. Some.
Wow.
But they arrived in a stolen car and left in a different car. That's not a dumb
I
idea,
know, right?
right?
That's right up there with Ubering away, except at that point you've got to be willing to pull the gun on the Uber. Don't pull guns on Uber kids unless they're being rapey.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, the other thing that was brought up by this was that over the past year, there's been a marked increase in armed robberies that involved victims who were wearing expensive jewelry in public.
Welcome to the fall.
Yeah. You oligarchs thought you were going to walk around with your necklace, and it's not going to happen.
How long did you all think you could take so much and leave so little for the rest of us?
Yep.
Don't do crimes, the internet.
Yep.
But if you do, make sure it makes the news so we can talk about it.
Yeah. No, fair. All right. Let's talk about Mo Brooks bails off the Trump crazy train.
I'm sorry, I got to screw this up because I want to go back real quick.
Oh, sure.
Remember when the trains were getting jacked?
Yeah.
And how long must it have been in the land of just like chutes and ladders, like babies' frolics, that you could safely park a train loaded with shit and it would still be there in the morning?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fucking nuts.
Yeah. Got a lot of
And I'm
people
glad they
looking
learned
for
a
some
lesson.
money.
Yeah.
And once they find out how easy crime is and how
Oh, yeah.
seldom
No, it was so important.
any
The
crime
system,
is solved.
this is why the system had to work, idiots, because cops are really not good at this. Really strikingly not good. That's why they land so hard and when they think they know the answer.
Well, and this kind of, break into the, run up and snatch somebody's jewelry or break into a freight car or whatever.
That's
There's
not even
nothing
started.
to go on.
Yeah.
Right, unless they happen to leave a fingerprint
Yeah.
and you happen to
drop
have
their
them in your
wallet or-
system.
yeah. No, unless we're going to get
They do
Florida
seem
man
to
level
drop their
stupid.
wallets
They
often enough.
bring their fucking wallets,
I
which
just-
means they're bringing a cell phone. Anyway.
Yeah, just dumb.
No, and the thing that bothers me about all of this, which I hadn't thought of till we were here, the worst part about all of this is there is no way to tighten the screws tight enough to get people back to being afraid of the system. One of the things I always worry about if someone ever pulled a serious insurrection in a state is in 1774, the Union had something to offer. What the fuck do we think we can offer now?
Hey, Democrats,
Social Security?
America needs to work for all Americans. We can afford to fund Social Security. We can
sure.
afford to fund going to Mars. We have to tax the motherfucking rich.
Yeah.
We used to.
That was
Yeah,
the thing.
we
They
did.
used to
Back in
have
the time when they're referencing, when they do the
Back
Make
before
America
they were
Great Again.
writing the laws.
Yeah.
So anyway,
All right, so back on to
Mo
Mo
Brooks.
Brooks and
This is delusional
Trump crazy
nonsense.
train.
it really is.
He's not switching teams. He's not going to testify at the January 6th. He wants to be elected.
No, but he was saying what Trump had asked for, and Trump
Oh, yeah.
asked him to, quote, rescind the 2020 elections,
That's from Mike
immediately remove Joe Biden from the White House, immediately put President Trump back in the White House, and hold a new special election for. And there's no basis for doing any of that.
Well, the
It's
crazy
absolutely
thing is,
impossible.
everyone who's in the room with Trump, right? Fucking Guilfoyle's a lawyer,
Yeah.
right? We're back to the no one's telling him what he doesn't want to hear.
Right. And having sat there silently, they have committed a felony. They
Yeah.
have become accessories before the fact.
Oh, fair.
So anyway, let's
Right.
prosecute some of these turkeys.
Please do, because I would love to believe that
The system actually worked.
I
It'd
I'd
be
love to
nice.
Ever works, even
Yeah.
just once, would
Yeah.
be nice.
that guy that stole all the senior trips from the kids.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, did you see the deal he got?
No.
No jail time. $40,000 from dozens of. Yep.
High school kids.
So he'll have to pay it back or something or whatever, and yeah, no.
Yeah.
Jail, motherfucker, jail.
Yes.
Like this is who should be in
And then
jail.
when he gets out, he can pay it back. Mm-hmm. Or he can pay it back right now.
was gonna
with
say.
his property.
Well, he can pay it back when he's working in the jail. $1 a day,
Yeah.
less whatever. Yeah, no, I fucking.
No, this whole idea that for some reason the so-called non-violent crimes. I'm sorry, you go talk to those kids about how they felt having their senior class trips stolen from them by some cocksucker.
Yeah.
Excuse me. By some asshole.
Hey,
And what?
he's not one of mine.
Yeah, okay. Anyway.
No, he's a cocksucker. You were right the first time, honey.
Okay.
Fucking go with
and
it.
No,
needs,
'cause,
he needs to spend time in prison, and I'm not talking about Club Fed.
No, it's a state crime. Arizona has some beastly places.
Well, and that's probably why they were like, we shouldn't put this in our.
Oh, and I'm sure he took a plea bargain, and he used their money to pay for his lawyer. Like that's the worst part. And don't feel bad for the kids. They got the whatever city they were in donated enough money. They went to Disney. It's fine.
All right.
Cool.
But no, exactly. The white collar crime is what is the most corrosive to the thing.
Exactly, and you need to start punishing it with
Well,
long prison terms.
And
Oh, yeah.
let's not have to go into the fight about define like crack possession is considered a violent crime in a lot of places, but real genuine violent crime, they had to overcome the impulse against attacking their fellow man.
Yeah.
And this obviously wasn't your next criminal mastermind, because every criminal everywhere knows, like, you need to really sell. Why has it got to get violent? Violent is how you get competent people involved.
Yeah.
Right? Or just offend some cop who's going to investigate it. And if they just work it, right? If they just do straight, hard fucking police work, they will catch you.
Sometimes
Yes. Like, that's the only way, if they're going to catch you
they
without
have
just.
to do the work. Absolutely.
And that's the only, right? Violence is one of the few things, violence and murder are one of the few things that offend the sensibilities of good police.
Right. Well, but they also typically have some connection between
Oh,
the
80%.
and living in the surveillance state, which we do.
Absolutely.
It turns out that some of this random
Oh, shit.
violence is getting recorded.
Yep.
And folks are getting brought up on charges.
Oh, and with everyone having done 23andMe, if you bleed or leave
Yeah.
any DNA, it's over.
Yep.
Which again leads us back to why smart criminals aren't doing violent crime.
Right.
Because if you're having to do evidence management at stage 1,
Yeah. You've
I
already
don't need to be
screwed up.
swinging the hammer at anyone.
Yeah.
All right,
Absolutely.
so before we move on to updates with BoomerX, I have a couple of things I want to talk about real quick.
Cool.
So, TheGuardian.com wrote an article about a man. So, a U.S. man charged in the insurrection gets asylum in Belarus.
Yep.
Yep, we talked about him.
So, Evan Newman,
Yep.
charged last year with assaulting police and using a metal barricade as a battering ram.
He had 6 charges
It's
against
all
him.
on video. Okay.
Oh, he's got more now.
Claims
He's a felon on the run.
claims he was there, but didn't hit any of the officers. Even though there's video. Alexander Lukashenko,
Yep.
The Belarusian president, and Vladimir Putin, obviously Russia's
Muppet.
president,
Yep.
holds up the riot as a double standard by the U.S., which condemns crackdowns on anti-government demonstrations elsewhere.
This at least, like, fucking yay Belarus remembering the playbook.
Newman says he traveled to Italy in March of 2021. Why the fuck did he travel to Italy? Why was he allowed to travel in March of 2021?
I'd have to look
Anyway,
more. I'm curious about dual citizenship.
That may
Found-
have been before he was charged.
found
Possibly.
his way into Ukraine, then illegally crossed into Belarus, where he says he appreciates their assistance and is shocked, I say, to find he has this issue in his home country.
Oh, shucks.
Oh, shocked, I say, shocked.
So, like, 4 things. A, go gadget JSOC. B, I like Ecuador. I think it was rude, and if I were the Ecuadorian security kids, I'd have blasted the London Metro that tried to stop the president's plane from leaving because they thought Julian Assange was on it.
Yeah.
That crazy ass shootout y'all were thinking about doing to get Assange back in the middle of the streets of London,
Yeah.
you can do it in Belarus. Ain't nobody give a fuck about Belarus.
There you go.
What, some beardy dudes shot it out and vanished into the trees? And
Yeah.
what? Prove it was us. Oh, that guy turned up here to, the Ukrainians gave him to us. Suck it.
All right, and
So while we're talking about, taking people off the street and so forth.
Yeah.
So the truckers convoy, parked, 70 miles from DC or whatever. I guess they used to be something. Anyway, they're kind of falling apart.
I think they were hoping to evolve on the way.
So their leader has a new idea, which is they're going to do citizens arrests
Oh, goddamn.
of
Please,
DC
dude,
Metro
yes,
cops and the DC mayor.
absolutely.
And I'm sorry, but my whole attitude toward that is, oh, please, please, please.
Right? Oh, goddamn, that's dumb.
That could get you, when you remove somebody from a place by force or prevent them from leaving,
Yep.
you're looking at 15 years.
Yeah.
So,
And a lot of this quickly becomes Fed charges.
yeah. Well, the Fed charges come too. So
Yeah.
they do you on the state first and then on the Fed.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Be our guest.
No, but it's the factionalism you need to drive wedges
Yeah.
where you can get people. Because one of the things from the various shows, right? Sane people do not behave outside of, right, an understandable pattern if you know that human.
Yeah.
So all of this, right, if you're going to get someone to not count votes or to drop a thing of
Yeah.
votes, they have to believe there's a threat that justifies this so much they can do it and still be the good guy.
Yeah.
There are very few people who are willing to put their humanity or whatever goodness in a box and be like, oh, well, we had a lot of fun. I'll come back and see you like college transcripts.
Yeah.
Bye. And go off and do evil. So,
Yeah.
but you need that factionalism to make them an
To make it
outsized
happen,
threat
yes.
because now they're the other. Now you can define them as whatever the worst part is.
Well, yeah, and if you can think of anything scarier than critical race theory, let me know.
Yeah.
I talk about some fragile,
I
frightened
talk to Democrats about
snowflakes.
semi-automatic military-grade assault weapons. It's the same unthinking, right? They don't intellectually
Yeah,
incurious.
there might be 30% of Democrats that actually
Think
have that-
guns are the
have that
problem, or
reaction.
think that
Yeah.
there's some answer down the road of, well, if we just got rid of all the guns,
Yeah.
then we'll get shot with fucking zip guns. Do you not remember how easy it is to
You get
make?
rid of. I'm sorry. The Republicans are right about that one. If you make guns illegal, only the criminals have guns.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, you morons?
Yeah. No.
So anyway,
That shit and insane.
again, we've reduced the police to they come out and they do a report for the insurance, literally.
Yeah.
Right. You ain't gonna get back what
Shit,
was
they'd
stolen.
make more money if they worked for the insurance company.
Yeah, they would. Oh. So
okay,
anyway,
so no, I want to discuss.
Yeah.
I found an article on NBCNews.com, and it's called "Texas Superintendent Tells Librarians to Pull Books on Sexuality, Transgender People."
Yep.
book burning in Texas. That's not news.
This is written by Mike Hexenbog and Jeremy Schwartz. It's
Texas
disturbing.
has been burning books for 40 years.
So he.
No, but I think it's important for Americans to know who America is or is becoming or whatever.
absolutely.
So Jeremy Glenn, the superintendent of the Granbury Independent School District in North Texas, told a group of librarians he'd summoned to a district meeting room that he needed to speak from his heart. I want to talk about our community, Glenn said, according to a recording of the January 10th meeting obtained and verified by NBC News, ProPublica, and the Texas Tribune. Glenn explained that Granbury, the largest city in a county where 81% of residents voted for then President Donald Trump in the 2020 presidential election, is very, very conservative, he said. He noted that members of the Granbury School Board, his bosses, were also very conservative. And any school employees who might have different political beliefs, Glenn said, you'd better hide it. Adding, here is the community Here in this community, we're going to be conservative. That's when he said he needed to talk to them about some of the books available in the school district's libraries. Now, he focuses on LGBTQ books,
Yeah.
Books about sexuality and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is some of these LGBTQ books don't have sex or talk about sex. They just
Have gay characters.
have gay characters or whatever. Now, the place where he made this meeting with these librarians is an hour away from the southwest of Dallas. And he said, I don't want a kid picking up a book, whether it's about homosexuality or heterosexuality, and reading about how to hook up sexually in our libraries. He made it clear that his concerns specifically include books on LGBTQ themes, even if they do not describe sex. Those comments, according to legal experts, raise concerns about possible violations of the First Amendment and federal civil rights laws that protect students from discrimination based on their gender and sexuality. And I'm going to take it a step further with you, he said, according to the recording. There are two genders. That's male and that's female.
That'd be sexes.
And I acknowledge that there are men that that think they're women, and there are women that think they're men. And
Whitey.
I don't have any issues with what people want to believe, but there's no place for it in our libraries.
Well, I assume all of the hood racks make it hard to fit any of the books in there either.
So someone asked whether titles on racism were acceptable. And Glenn said books on different cultures are great. End quote. Specifically, what are we getting at? Let's call it what it is. And I'm cutting to the chase on a lot of this, Glenn said. It's the transgender, LGBTQ, and the sexuality in books. That's what the governor has said he will prosecute people for, and that's what we're pulling out. They took 130 titles from library shelves for review. Nearly 3/4 of the removed books featured LGBTQ characters or themes, according to ProPublica and Texas Tribune analysis. Others dealt with racism, sex ed, abortion, and women's rights.
Yeah.
This seems really on the nose to me. A little too on the nose to me.
Yeah, why would you want little girls to read books about things they're not going to have going forward?
Not if they stay in Texas.
Glenn,
Yeah, because Texas is the one who's going to get fucked up.
in his recorded comments to librarians, Glenn described the review of 130 titles as the first step in a broader appraisal of library content, and a new policy approved by the school board later in January grants him and other administrators broad authority unilaterally remove additional titles they deem inappropriate, with no formal review and no way for the public to easily find out what has been pulled from the shelves.
I'd kill myself if I thought Texans were in charge of what I could read. No, but right, Texas decides the school books for the United States.
Yes.
So this isn't going to stay in Texas.
Less so recently because of advances in publishing, but yes, for a long period, if it was approved by the Texas School Board, it was likely to be used nearly everywhere.
And it's going to only
this is
get
a
worse.
perfect example, right? So, to the children of this town, right, the children who are subject to this, if you are female, you should be looking at this and asking yourself how soon you can leave Texas forever.
Yep. Texas, like a lot of places, is a good place to be from.
Yeah, as far from as possible.
Yep.
Same thing for
Take
major
what was
national
good
businesses.
and drive on.
Right? If this is the attitude in the local community, you can't have a facility there. You have to leave.
Well, and what I'm concerned is I don't know if anyone can speak to them in the way to make them understand that, right, whatever you have now will have been the high watermark.
Yep.
Right? Bright people will not work for evil.
Right.
They'll find some other thing to do.
And you'll get left further and further and further behind.
So, in a written statement,
Next up will be evolution.
Right.
That's a biggie for them.
In a written statement, Glenn says, and I quote, In Granbury and across Texas, we are seeing parents push back and demand elected officials put
about
safeguards
freedom.
in place to protect their children from materials that serve no academic purpose, but rather push a political narrative. As a result, classrooms and libraries have turned schools into battlegrounds for partisan politics.
Absolutely.
You did that.
I agree with every word.
You did that.
And if you're a teacher, you should be leaving Texas
Yeah,
tonight.
get the
Yeah.
fuck out.
Yeah, there are lots of other places
I'm sorry
that need
about the kids
teachers.
you're going to have to leave behind, but
Yep.
you can't, right? If you stay now and allow them to have whatever the effective quorum is, right, in
Yep.
terms of education, these
Yep.
schools are no longer educating.
Yep.
And that means you're no longer an educator if you stay.
Right.
Well, and it's the standard right-wing thing of wanting a little safe space for their children.
That's the part that
Right,
is,
these snowflakes
infuriates
that-
me,
yeah.
is the left's inability to make this about freedom when, right, in a free world, they would tell their children what books they should and should not read. They know their children best, just as you know your children. They're denying you the ability to determine what's best for your kid.
Absolutely.
They know better than you do. And in the immortal words of Rage Against the Machine, you don't have to burn the books, you just got to remove them.
Yeah.
Oh, hush your terrorist bird.
All right, so we ready for updates?
Yes, so updates. Excuse me. With Boomer Rex, what's going on with Omicron?
Dr. Fauci says we see a larger and larger percentage of our current infections are the
The new one.
new one.
I think it's time for Fauci to go write his memoirs.
But there's no expectation of a big surge, right? At this point, we have begun to get some version of community.
Herd immunity.
Yeah. Simply because we've got a lot of people vaccinated and there are a lot of other people who've had a mild case and so on. So anyway,
If he's wrong about this, it's definitely time for him. And I understand he's just looking at the science.
right.
Keeping him in the room makes this argument harder for not a lot of reason, and I don't think he's uniquely bright. I think at his level, they're all kind of smart. I don't think he and, coronavirus trained together as children, and he knows his fighting style intimately. A competently trained virologist could do the same without having to pay for the freight of, they've already labeled him, right, the problem, and the guy that's whatever.
Potentially the wrong messenger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and it's, my thing is, the media will never stop asking him about stuff because that will keep people clicking because they got to see what, right? The people
Yeah.
who hate Fauci every day of every minute. Other way
Right.
around,
They'll
right?
read every damn word.
Everything that has his name in the headline
Absolutely.
and deny all of it.
And help the media sell soap.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
All right, so climate weirding. First of all, I want to say New Orleans has now has 2 confirmed tornadoes, not just the one we spoke about the other day. So that's interesting.
Yep, absolutely. Just 2 things. We're looking at this huge batch of tornadoes that have been created across Texas and the South and so on. And it's early and they're violent.
Yep.
This is not good. But there's also an interesting feature of this is because they are so early, many of them, and they're now, Tornado Alley used to be out in Kansas, and you go 100 miles and tear down one barn, right? That's not what the Gulf Coast is.
No.
Fuck.
So they tend to be worse on the Gulf Coast because there's more stuff to hit.
Yeah.
As the sheriff said, more bullseyes. And
Yeah, 2/3 of
because
humans
it's
live below
early
water.
in the season, and because there's lots of excess heat, they don't need the heat of the sun to become violent. And so they can happen in the early evening and at night
Oh, fuck.
when it doesn't help.
Well, I got a scary thought for you
What?
because I know you've read The Coming Global Superstorm.
Yes,
So that permanent storm that they envisioned at the North Pole or whatever.
Legion.
Yep. What if they're wrong and it's the imbalance between the two and it lives at the equator? Because that would give it all the jet streams to keep rotation.
Yeah. Well, or
The
you could just
equator
get
is so hot it's no longer making the kinds of clouds it used to.
you could get a continuous procession of hurricane-like stuff
Yeah.
that encircles the northern hemisphere for sure, and it's like
There's
it
very likely
stops short of Legion,
Yeah.
right? But either way, go ahead, keep mucking it
Fuck
up.
around, find out. And
The
we're
whole
gonna.
point behind climate weirding is everything you thought you knew about your local weather
On the
may
models
very
for
well
it,
be wrong.
all those spaghetti models for hurricanes.
Yep.
Get ready to wave goodbye to the accuracy on that. Right, it was banner news when we got hurricane or tornado warnings up, right? That 5 minutes or whatever. Back when it was seconds.
Yep.
Still, 90 seconds. You give me 90 seconds, I can get a lot done. Right?
Yeah.
I can at least go to ground and roll the dice.
Right.
So no,
I can go get in my tub.
whatever. Yeah, if nothing else, when it all comes apart, right up until then, they were working the problem, because you only really get panic. You don't actually get panic from civilians all that often, but if you give them something to do, you won't get panic.
Yep. No, I'll argue with you on a point. The spaghetti models are done from current measurements.
That's true.
Those spaghetti models are going to continue to work.
In theory, shouldn't all the others?
No.
Wouldn't their model that's been taking recent data?
Your current forecast models will all continue to
Okay,
work.
fine.
Right? It's just that the results of those models are going to be different than what you got 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're going to be consistently different, or God help you, inconsistently different.
That's my point about the spaghetti models on the hurricanes, which I agree is more subtle and simple math, because you've already got a rotational creature and it's moving. And
Oh, no. But those models are all done real time with real
Yeah.
measurements of pressure and wind and
Yeah.
so on.
What's going on around
And
the storm
guessing
in
about
the
what's the
storm and
So they
yeah,
work.
otherwise,
what
yeah.
you're seeing is a radial pattern of them guessing what the weather's going to be like tomorrow, 40 miles away or whatever, 24
Right,
hours.
based
of
on
travel time.
today's data and all
Yeah.
that. So those will
We'll have a
continue
low pressure
to
there.
work. What won't continue to work are the historical tracks, right? That you expect one that goes this way to then, and none of that has to happen.
Yeah. Well, and
All
now
of that can end.
and your weather can change more rapidly.
Yep, absolutely. Well, it's more energy.
So your error rate is going to go up either way.
Well, and we've already seen several of the hurricanes gain strength explosively,
Yeah.
right? So, for a week they've been forecasting a Cat 2 storm that's headed for your little neck of the woods. And in the day that it arrives, leading up to the night,
Yeah. It's jumped 2 power levels.
it turns into a Cat 4 and squashes you.
Yeah. But no, don't worry. I'm sure we'll fix this at some point after we fix all the other things.
All right, so for more
Waiting
bummers,
for a day
don't
we feel
forget
good.
to comment, like, subscribe, follow, heart, review. Do you love us? Do you hate us? Tell us. We want to know.
Should I have saved Simba for the end?
No.
Okay.
Check us out on your favorite podcasting service, BoomerRexTonight. We're on YouTube as BoomerRex. You can also search BoomerRexTonight. It will take you to.
You're smart cookies. You listen to us.
I believe in you.
You can find us.
If you go to Twitter, we're at BRexTonight. If you go to Facebook, we are BoomerRexTonight. No spaces. Very important. And I'm gonna fix that soon, hopefully.
And don't forget to comment, because we really want comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, comment. Do those things. Let us
Tell
know.
us when we fucked up.
Send me a private message. We'll put you on the show if you'd like. We'll read your message.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk about you. So
Well,
not
let
kidding.
us know whether you'd be comfortable with us reading your
that's
message
gonna
or
be
not.
part of the question.
Yeah.
So anyway.
It'll be fine. The internet.
Yeah,
Talk to
I
us.
believe
We're
in you.
bored. What do you want to know about? Because
Yep.
obviously, I like this because there was at least 2 stories I hadn't heard.
Um,
Suzette Baker is a librarian in Texas who got fired in all of this. Not maybe that chain, but the one they shut the
Yeah.
library down for 3 weeks to pull
Yeah.
the books. So,
just craziness, folks, and we are here every step of the way with you, letting you know every crazy update that comes through. And once again, I want to let y'all know that our support is with the Ukrainians and the Russians who are not supportive of this war. We love you. We're thinking about you. Keep doing you. Protest if you can. Don't buy from companies. That sort of thing. Do what you can.
there's a
whatever
list
it
of
is.
companies that are refusing to pull out. We should make that bad for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
you
noticed
can- you
Nestle
can
pulled
help.
out after
Even Nestle and their scum.
Oh yeah. They got a
Renault
lot of
decided not to
backlash.
do their 3 days of production.
Hell yeah.
So anyway, yeah, we can.
So
Now,
just
you
know.
want to do business, then you better listen.
Yeah, we love you all, and we will see you back here tomorrow night on Boomer Rex tonight.
Remember, yachts burn.